I stand in the center of our living room trying to smile as my friends sing Happy Birthday for the 18th time in my life. The grocery store sheet cake sits on our coffee table, its plastic container discarded beside it. Someone, probably mom, scrawled Happy Birthday Josie across the top in hasty blue icing that's already starting to bleed into the white frosting beneath. Make a wish, says Melissa, my friend since third grade. I lean forward, staring at the 18 flickering candles. Behind me, Dad checks his watch again. He's done it 4 times in the last 20 minutes. The ancient Bluetooth speaker in the corner crackles as it plays music no one requested, barely audible over the uncomfortable silence filling our modest living room. I close my eyes and blow. The candles don't all go out on the first try. Ooh, that means your wish won't come true, jokes Tyler, earning him an elbow from Melissa. If they only knew what I'd wished for. Recognition. Acknowledgement. Something, anything to make me feel like I matter in this house. From her seat in the corner, Grandma Margaret watches with narrowed eyes, her tea growing cold in her hands. She hasn't smiled once since Mom brought out the cake. She sees everything, my grandmother. Always has. My mind flashes back 4 years, to Sloane's 18th birthday. I was 14 then, standing in awe as 50 guests filled our backyard. Dad had hired a professional DJ. Mom spent 3 days crafting Sloane's favorite chocolate mousse cake. And when everyone gathered around, my parents had revealed their gift, a brand new Ford Escape with a giant red bow on the hood. Sloane had screamed with joy, hugging our parents as everyone applauded. Today, 5 friends sit awkwardly on our secondhand furniture. No DJ, no yard decorations, just a store-bought cake and the weight of comparison hanging heavy in the air. Time for presents, Mom announces with the practiced smile she reserves for situations she wants to rush through. She hands me a small envelope with my name written on it. I open it slowly, knowing already what little it contains. A gift card, $25 to the local bookstore. Thanks, I say, forcing enthusiasm into my voice. My friends exchange glances. They know too. Melissa brought me a limited edition vinyl record she saved up for months to buy. Even Tyler, who works part-time at his dad's garage, gave me concert tickets. But from my parents? A gift card smaller than what they give my teachers at Christmas. The silence stretches uncomfortably until I can't bear it anymore. Why is everything different for me? The words tumble out before I can stop them, my voice barely above a whisper but trembling with the force of years of unanswered questions. Dad's hand makes a dismissive wave. Sloane earned her celebration. Academic scholarship, captain of the volleyball team. You know how it was. We do what we can afford at the time, Mom adds, her practiced smile faltering at the edges. Things were different then. But they weren't. Dad's accounting firm has been successful for years. Mom's interior design business expanded last summer. The only thing different is me. My friends shift in their seats, suddenly fascinated by their plates of cake. The weight of unspoken truths fills the room, suffocating as summer heat. Then comes the sound of Grandma Margaret's teacup clattering loudly against its saucer. After all these years, she says, rising slowly from her chair, you're still punishing her for being born a girl. The room freezes. Melissa's fork stops halfway to her mouth. Tyler stares, wide-eyed. Mom. My mother's voice is sharp, warning. Not now. But those 4 words, not now, confirm everything in Grandma's accusation. Dad's face flushes crimson. Margaret, you have no right to. No right? Grandma steps forward, pointing a finger that shakes not with age but with fury. I watched you dress that baby in blue for months. Introduce her as Joseph to everyone you met. Until I finally put my foot down. The floor seems to tilt beneath me. Joseph? My vision tunnels as fragments of memory click into place the old baby photos with me in blue clothes. My parents' discomfort whenever relatives mention my infancy. Their persistent disappointment when I chose dance over sports. The push toward short haircuts until I finally refused at 13. Is that true? I whisper, looking between my parents. Their silence answers more clearly than words ever could. Mom finally speaks. Josie, it wasn't like that. We were just adjusting. For 18 years? Grandma challenges. Images flash through my mind, baby Josie in tiny blue overalls. My mother introducing her infant to neighbors as Joseph. Grandma Margaret's intervention when I was 6 months old. The reluctant transition to calling me Josie instead. Years of subtle neglect captured in birthday parties, Christmas mornings, school events where my parents arrived late or not at all. My friends begin gathering their things, squeezing my hand as they make awkward exits. Tyler whispers, "Call me later," as he slips out the door. Through the picture window, I see Uncle Robert's truck pulling into our driveway. Grandma must have texted him. Always my protectors, those two. My phone buzzes. Sloan calling from college, probably for the obligatory birthday wishes. She'll know something's wrong the moment I answer. I step away from my parents, cake untouched, heart splintering. In my bedroom, I lock the door and sink to the floor, the weight of 18 years of subtle rejection crushing down on me. So that's why nothing I do is ever enough, I whisper to the empty room. 2 weeks crawl by after my birthday disaster. I've been avoiding my parents, working extra shifts at the bookstore, catching rides with Melissa, or taking the bus 13 miles each way. The silence in our house hangs thick as winter fog. I'm arranging books on the fantasy shelf when my phone buzzes. Mom's text reads, "Come straight home after work. We have something for you. Asterisk." My stomach tightens. The last something they had for me was a $25 gift card. Uncle Robert offered to pick me up, but I text him back, "Not today. Parents want me home." Asterisk. His response is immediate. "Call if you need me." Asterisk. When I arrive home, both my parents stand in the driveway, Dad jingling a set of keys in his hand, Mom wearing her church social smile. Behind them sits a silver Chevy Malibu, suspiciously clean, its paint gleaming in the afternoon sun. "What's this?" I ask, keeping my distance. Dad extends the keys toward me. "We wanted to make things right. Just like Sloan got at her age," Mom adds, her voice tight around the edges. My chest flutters with cautious hope. Could they actually be seeing me? After 18 years of looking past me, could one confrontation have changed everything? "It's yours," Dad says. "Got it for $850 online. Great deal." $850. The number sinks in my stomach like a stone. Sloane's Ford Escape cost nearly $20,000. "We'll cover insurance for 4 months," Mom says, hands clasped at her waist. Just like with Sloan. Grandma Margaret appears on the porch, narrowing her eyes at the too shiny car. She circles it slowly, running a finger along the driver's door, examining it like she's inspecting fruit at the market. "Mighty clean for something that cheap," she mutters. "But I need this car. The bookstore is 13 miles away and winter's coming. The bus schedule was just cut back, and Melissa can't always drive me." "Thank you," I say, accepting the keys. "This helps a lot." Dad nods once, mission accomplished. Don't expect anything for Christmas. This was a big expense. $850. A big expense. For them? For the next month, the Malibu serves its purpose. The radio works. The heater blows warm. I make my shifts on time. Each mile feels like independence, even in this bargain basement chariot. Until Thursday afternoon on the interstate. I'm cruising in the middle lane when the temperature gauge creeps from normal to hot in the space of 3 minutes. The steering wheel vibrates under my hands. A new warning light flashes on the dashboard. "No, no, no," I whisper, searching for the next exit. There isn't one for miles. White smoke begins billowing from under the hood, thin at first, then thickening until it obscures my windshield. Cars honk as they swerve around me. The engine makes a terrible knocking sound. I ease onto the narrow shoulder, heart hammering against my ribs, semis thundering past mere feet away, rocking my car with each pass. When I turn the key off, the engine makes an ominous gurgling sound before dying. With shaking fingers, I call Uncle Robert. "I'm on my way," he says immediately. "Don't get out of the car. Too dangerous there." 90 minutes later, Uncle Robert's truck pulls up behind me, hazard lights flashing. His friend Mike from the auto shop follows in a tow truck. Mike barely glances under the hood before shaking his head. Blown head gasket, classic case. At the shop, Mike points to a crusty residue around the radiator cap. "See this? Temporary sealant." And here, he gestures to dried blue liquid trailing down the engine block. More stop, leak. This engine was patched up just enough to sell it, probably knew it wouldn't last 2 months. Uncle Robert's face darkens with each word. "How much to fix it?" I ask. Mike's expression says it all. $2,200 minimum, and even then no guarantees. $2,200. More than I make in 2 months at the bookstore. That night, I face my parents across the kitchen table, the repair estimate between us. The mechanic says it was rigged to run just long enough to sell. I explain, voice trembling, not with tears but rising anger. Did you have it inspected before buying it? Dad doesn't look up from his phone. For $800? Of course not. You could have been killed, Uncle Robert says from behind me. Dad finally looks up, eyes cold. That's karma for embarrassing us at your party. The words hit me like a physical blow. My mother busies herself at the sink, scrubbing a already clean pot, refusing to make eye contact. You never wanted me to succeed, I whisper, the truth dawning bright and terrible. Oh, here we go with the dramatics, Dad says, standing to leave. But Grandma Margaret storms through the front door, face flushed with fury. You could have killed her. On a highway with trucks going 70 miles an hour. Uncle Robert pulls up screenshots on his phone. Found the listing online. Runs great, minor cosmetic issues only. But look at the seller's other listings. 3 more cars just like this one, all suspiciously cheap, all recently detailed. Within an hour, our living room fills with extended family. Aunt Paula and Uncle Stephen stand beside me. Cousin Beth puts her arm around my shoulders. Uncle Robert shows everyone the screenshots, explains the mechanic's findings. My parents retreat upstairs, closing their bedroom door, claiming to be the victims of a family mutiny. 1 week later, Uncle Robert and Grandma Margaret pull into our driveway with a blue Honda Fit. Not new, but clean in a way that speaks of care rather than concealment. This car has been thoroughly inspected and serviced. Uncle Robert says, handing me a folder of maintenance records and a clear title. Mike put it on the lift himself. New brakes, fresh oil, good for another 100,000 miles. We put it in your name, Grandma adds. Nobody can take it from you. Through the living room window, I see my parents watching, neither coming outside to help nor acknowledging the family members providing what they wouldn't. I run my fingers over the title with my name printed on it. For the first time, I feel something beyond the hurt and anger, the steady presence of advocates in my corner. People who see me clearly and act accordingly. Thank you, I say, and the words feel insufficient for the weight they carry. 6 months pass like a blur. Winter thaws into a hesitant spring, and I find myself at our kitchen table surrounded by envelopes bearing university letterheads. My hands shake slightly as I slide my thumb under the flap of the largest Wannabe top choice school. Grandma Margaret sits across from me, her reading glasses perched on her nose, a mug of chamomile tea warming her hands. Whatever it says, I'm proud of you. The envelope tears jaggedly, revealing the crisp letterhead of Westlake University. My eyes dart across the page, searching for the words that will determine my future. Dear Josephine Trevelyan, we are pleased to. I can't finish reading aloud. The words blur as tears fill my eyes. What is it, honey? Grandma leans forward, concern etching deeper lines into her weathered face. 60%, I whisper, blinking rapidly. Academic scholarship, 60%. Grandma's hand flies to her mouth. Oh, my stars. I slide the letter across the table. Grandma's fingers tremble as she lifts it, eyes widening as she reads. A single tear tracks down her cheek, catching in the crease beside her mouth. This is... She removes her glasses, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. This is extraordinary, Josie. The kitchen door swings open. Mom breezes in with grocery bags, hair freshly highlighted, not a strand out of place despite the spring drizzle outside. Any mail today? She asks casually, glancing at the pile of envelopes. Grandma Margaret slides the letter back toward me, her eyes holding mine in silent support. Just college stuff, I say, watching Mom's face. She sets the bags on the counter, movements practiced and efficient. Anything important? I hold up Westlake's letter. I got in, with a scholarship. That's nice, dear. Her tone is dismissive until she glances at the letter. She freezes, eyes narrowing on the percentage figure highlighted in bold. The plastic grocery bag slips from her fingers, landing with a soft thud on the linoleum. 60%? Her voice pitches higher. There must be some mistake. No mistake. I can't keep the edge from my voice. They want me. Mom snatches the letter, scanning it rapidly. Her face cycles through disbelief, confusion, and something darker I can't quite name. Dad's heavy footsteps sound in the hallway. He enters, briefcase in hand, already loosening his tie. Mail's here, Mom announces, voice tight. She thrusts the letter at him. Josie got a scholarship. Dad scans the page, eyebrows lifting fractionally. Well, that's unexpected. His voice carries the same tone he uses when a client makes an accounting error he needs to correct. Sloane only got 30% at her school, Mom adds quickly. She busies herself with the groceries, avoiding my eyes. And that was with volleyball. The comparison lands like a slap. I bite my tongue until I taste copper. Grandma doesn't bother hiding her disgust. For heaven's sake, Caroline, your daughter just received an incredible opportunity. Is that really all you have to say? The doorbell rings before Mom can respond. Uncle Robert stands on the porch, a bottle of champagne in one hand and a bouquet of yellow roses in the other. I hear congratulations are in order. His grin falters as he reads the tension in the room. Mom's phone chirps. She glances at it, relief washing over her face. Book club emergency. I have to go. She grabs her purse, never looking directly at me. We'll talk about this later. Dad checks his watch. I have a client call in 5 minutes. Good job, Josie. He retreats to his home office, door clicking shut behind him. Uncle Robert watches them go, then turns to me with a wink. More champagne for us, then. Later that evening, I stand beside Grandma Margaret in her kitchen, drying dishes as she washes them. The celebration with Uncle Robert left me lighter than I've felt in months, but questions still gnaw at me, sharper after my parents' reactions. Grandma, I say, setting down a plate carefully, was I even wanted? Her hands go still in the soapy water. She rinses them slowly, deliberate in her movements as she sets down the dish towel. Her eyes, faded blue but still sharp, meet mine. It's time you knew everything, sweetheart. We move to her small living room with its familiar scent of lavender sachets and old books. Uncle Robert joins us, settling into the worn armchair by the window. Sloane answers our video call on the first ring, her dorm room visible in the background. What's going on? Sloane asks, face tight with concern. Grandma takes a deep breath. Your parents had very specific expectations when Caroline got pregnant with Josie. After having you, they wanted a son. The room seems to tilt beneath me. What? Your mother dressed you in blue for months after you were born, Grandma continues. She called you Joseph, introduced you that way to everyone. Uncle Robert nods grimly, until Mom finally put her foot down when you were about 6 months old. I knew something was off, but they never told me this, Sloane says, her voice small on the screen. Grandma rises and retrieves a shoebox from her closet. Inside are photos I've never seen a baby in blue overalls, tiny baseball caps, miniature sneakers with sports logos. That's me? I whisper, touching the glossy surface of a photo showing my mother holding an infant in a blue onesie with Daddy's little slugger embroidered across the chest. Until you were about 7 months old, Grandma confirms. When I finally convinced them this wasn't healthy for anyone, they reluctantly started calling you Josie. Uncle Robert reaches for a faded envelope. I've kept these emails from when you were little. Your dad was furious when your preschool teacher suggested you might have artistic talent rather than athletic ability. You wore my hand, me downs until you were 4. Sloane adds softly. Even though they could afford new things, I remember Mom complaining that all my old clothes were too girly for you. The pieces of my life rearrange themselves, creating a picture that finally makes sense. Tears burn in my eyes, but then unexpectedly laughter bubbles up from somewhere deep inside me. At least now it makes sense, I say, wiping my eyes. All these years I thought I wasn't good enough. Turns out I just wasn't the right gender. Sloane's laugh mingles with mine, though tears shine in her eyes too. I tried to protect you. I didn't know how to tell you. Their disappointment isn't my burden to carry anymore. I say, the words forming a revelation as I speak them. Uncle Robert leans forward, face serious. Now, about that scholarship, let's talk strategy. We gather around Grandma's dining table, university brochures spread before us. The school sits 1,200 miles away, a distance that suddenly feels necessary rather than daunting. I can help with living expenses, Uncle Robert says, making notes on a legal pad. And I've got connections at an accounting firm near campus for part-time work. Sloane taps her screen. I'll visit you instead of going home for breaks next year. We're deep in planning when my phone buzzes. My parents, suddenly interested now that others are involved. We should discuss your college plans, Mom's text reads. Dad and I have some thoughts. 3 days later, they corner me in the kitchen. Leaving the state seems dramatic. Mom says, stirring her coffee. There are perfectly good schools here. Dad nods. Besides, who's going to help your mother around the house? I keep my voice neutral. I've made my decision. It's like you're abandoning your family, Mom says, voice dripping with passive-aggressive sweetness. Dad leans against the counter. You know, your academic success really reflects the values we instilled in you. The audacity nearly takes my breath away. The values Grandma Margaret instilled in me. I correct him. We're willing to help with tuition, Mom offers suddenly. If you stay in state, of course, and maintain the right GPA, and come home weekends. I think of all the strings that have held me back, tangled around me since birth. No thank you, I say quietly, meeting her eyes directly for the first time in months. I've got this covered. Their matching expressions of shock almost make me laugh. They never expected me to refuse. They never expected me to know my worth. But I do now. And I'm not looking back. Day before moving, I fold the last of my t-shirts and place them in the duffel bag splayed open on my bed. My childhood room looks strange now, walls bare where posters once hung, shelves empty of books and trinkets. The space feels hollow, like it never really belonged to me in the first place. From the hallway, Mom hovers in the doorway for the third time this hour. Don't forget to pack a raincoat. The forecast says thunderstorms next week. Already packed, I answer without looking up. She lingers, fingers tapping against the doorframe. And you've got enough money for emergencies? The ATM fees on campus are ridiculous. Uncle Robert handled that yesterday, setting up a new account at a bank with branches near campus. But I just nod, not sharing this information. I'm covered. Through the wall, I hear Dad on the phone, his voice rising and falling as he tells someone about my daughter heading off to college. The pride in his voice makes me want to laugh. Where was that pride last week when he warned me I'd probably flunk out by Christmas? Grandma Margaret appears behind Mom carrying a small box. Found these in my attic. Thought you might want them. She slips past Mom and sets the box on my bed, photo albums from my dance recitals that my parents never bothered to attend. Thanks, Grandma. Our eyes meet, a silent understanding passing between us. Mom steps forward. I could have given her those. I have all her recital programs somewhere. Do you? Grandma raises an eyebrow. Funny, I don't recall you attending many of them. Mom's face flushes. She retreats down the hallway, calling over her shoulder. I'm making sandwiches for the road. When she's gone, I whisper, You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. Grandma tucks a strand of hair behind my ear. Some truths need saying, even at this late hour. The doorbell rings. Through my window, I spot Uncle Robert's SUV parked behind Sloane's compact car. My heart leaps. Sloane wasn't supposed to arrive until tomorrow. I rush downstairs to find my sister standing in the foyer, hair shorter than when I last saw her, eyes bright with mischief. Surprise! She throws her arms around me. You think I'd miss moving my little sister to college? Dad emerges from his office, face tight with confusion. Sloane? We weren't expecting you until tomorrow. Plans changed. She shrugs, not offering further explanation. Where's Mom? Kitchen, I say, unable to stop smiling. That night, after the packing is mostly done, and our parents have retreated to their bedroom, Sloane and I sit cross-legged on my mattress, now stripped of sheets and blankets. Remember when we used to build forts in here? Sloane asks, running her hand over the bare mattress. You always made me be the prisoner while you were the guard. She laughs softly. Yeah, I was a bossy kid. The moonlight slants through my window, casting half her face in shadow. She looks older suddenly, tired around the eyes. Sloane? I hesitate. Were they different with you, better? She snorts. Better? Number. Just different. She looks down at her hands. Being the favorite wasn't a gift, Josie. It was a cage. What do you mean? Every achievement had to be bigger than the last. Every decision scrutinized to make sure I was living up to their expectations. She meets my eyes. At least they left you alone enough to figure out who you actually are. I never thought of it that way. But they gave you everything. Material things, sure, but they were always watching, always pushing. They had my whole life mapped out. She looks around the nearly empty room. You're escaping. I'm still trying to. We talk until sunrise, truths flowing between us that had been dammed up for years. For the first time, I see my sister not as the golden child, but as another casualty of our parents' warped love. Morning arrives with a flurry of activity. Uncle Robert and Grandma load the last boxes into the SUV while Mom fusses with a cooler of snacks nobody asked for. Dad stands awkwardly in the driveway, jangling his keys. Call when you get there. And remember what I said about that economics professor. His grading curve is brutal. The neighbors watch from their porches as my parents make a show of teary hugs and last-minute advice. For their audience, they play the part of devoted parents sending their daughter off to college. I give each a brief, appropriate hug. To Dad, I say nothing. To Mom, I whisper close to her ear, I forgive you, but I won't forget. Her body stiffens against mine. Then I'm in the SUV, Sloan beside me, Grandma and Uncle Robert in front. As we pull away, I watch my childhood home shrink in the rearview mirror. With each mile marker, something lifts from my shoulders, a weight I've carried so long I forgot it was there. You know, Sloan says quietly, I'm thinking of transferring, maybe somewhere on the West Coast. Grandma chuckles from the front seat. My mother nearly disowned me when I moved 50 miles away from home, said I was abandoning the family. What did you do, I ask. Live my life anyway. She turns, eyes crinkling. Some patterns need breaking, sweet girl. By afternoon, we reach campus. My dorm room is tiny but entirely Menino history here. No comparison. No constant evaluation. That night, after everyone leaves, I call Grandma instead of my parents. As we talk, I stare out the window at students crossing the quad, laughing, living. For the first time in 18 years, I take a full breath. 3 months later, the email sits open on my laptop screen. 3 sentences, carefully composed over 2 hours. A boundary drawn in pixels and punctuation. I won't be coming home for Thanksgiving this year. I have plans with friends here. I hope you understand. I read it again, cursor hovering over, send. 3 months at university have built a foundation beneath me, Dean's List midterms, new friends who know nothing of Joseph, weekends free from the weight of constant comparison. The thought of returning home makes my chest tighten. My phone lights up. Sloane's name appears on screen. Did you send it yet? She asks when I answer, her voice crisp against the background noise of her apartment. Still working up the nerve, I admit, watching raindrops race each other down my dorm window. November in Massachusetts brings early darkness and skies the color of wet cement. I'm not going either, Sloane says. I already told them last week. How'd they take it? A short, humorless laugh. Dad sent me a lecture about family traditions, Mom cried. The familiar guilt rises, but something new rises alongside it, determination. I press send before I can change my mind. Done, I say, the word carrying more weight than its single syllable suggests. Good for you, Sloane says. Boundaries, right? That's what my therapist calls it. The response comes faster than I expected. My phone buzzes with 3 successive texts from Mom, each more laden with emotional leverage than the last. Family needs to be together on holidays. What will we tell the neighbors? Your father and I are very disappointed. Then my phone rings. Dad. I let it go to voicemail. Grandma Margaret calls an hour later. They've been blowing up my phone, she says without preamble. Trying to get me to convince you. What did you tell them? That sometimes boundaries need to be clear. Her voice carries the steadiness of someone who's weathered many storms. Stand your ground, Josie. The week brings escalation. Dad's stern email lands in my inbox, thick with words like respect and tradition and proper family values. Uncle Robert forwards messages where my parents have reached out to cousins, trying to create a pressure campaign. The final blow comes on Saturday morning. A text from my neighbor back home. Sorry you couldn't get time off work for Thanksgiving. Your mom says you're working so hard at your campus job. Hope your boss gives you Christmas off at least. I sit on my bed, staring at my phone. The lie they've created wraps around me like old, familiar hands. Then Mom's message arrives. Since you can't come to us, we'll come to you. Dad and I will drive up Wednesday afternoon. We've already booked a hotel near campus. My fingers shake as I type my response. This isn't a good time for a visit. I think we should consider family counseling before we meet in person again. The reply comes within seconds. Therapy is unnecessary. We've always been supportive parents. I close my eyes, feeling the weight of 18 years of denial pressing down. When I open them, I text Grandma Margaret and Uncle Robert, then Sloane. Within an hour, our counterplans are set. Wednesday afternoon finds me sitting in the Golden Bean, a coffee shop 3 blocks from campus. I've chosen a corner table with 6 chairs. The place smells of cinnamon and espresso, music playing just loud enough to provide privacy without drowning conversation. My parents arrive first, 10 minutes early, Dad checking his watch as they enter, Mom scanning the room with anxious eyes. They spot me and approach, their smiles too wide, too rehearsed. "There's our college girl," Mom says, leaning in for a hug I don't return. Uncle Robert and Grandma Margaret arrive 5 minutes later, their presence shifting the energy immediately. Dad's smile hardens. "What are they doing here?" he asks, voice tight. "Support," I say simply, placing my phone at the center of the table, Sloane's face visible on the screen from her video call. "Is this an ambush?" Dad asks, color rising in his face. "It's a conversation that's 18 years overdue," Sloane says from the phone. Dad straightens his shoulders, falling into the posture he uses at Rotary Club speeches. "Now listen here," he begins, voice measured. "Family loyalty is the foundation of—" I open my backpack and pull out a manila envelope, sliding out several photos and placing them on the table. Baby pictures. Me in blue overalls. Me in a baseball cap. Me in a tiny suit at my christening. "You named me Joseph," I say quietly. "You dressed me as a boy. You introduced me as your son." Mom's hand trembles as she reaches for her water glass. "Josie, we did the best we could with—" "No," Sloane interrupts, her voice clear through the speaker. "You did what was easiest for you." "You punished her for being born a girl," Grandma adds, her eyes never leaving my mother's face. "For 18 years. The coffee shop continues its normal rhythm around used espresso machines hissing, customers chatting, music playing while at our table. Time seems suspended. "We're your daughters," I say, meeting each of my parents' eyes in turn, "not your projects." Sloane nods on screen. "If you want a relationship with either of us going forward, we need 3 things. Her voice is calm but firm. "First, acknowledge what you did without excuses. Second," I continue, "family therapy. Real participation, not just showing up. And third," Sloane finishes, "respect for our boundaries going forward." Dad's face darkens to crimson. "This is ridiculous. You've turned everyone against us." He gestures wildly toward Uncle Robert and Grandma, feeding them lies about. "They're not lies if I lived them," I say, my voice steadier than I feel inside. Mom dabs at her eyes with a napkin. "We love you, Josie. We've always loved you. We just wanted the best." "You wanted a son," I correct her. "And when you got me instead, you settled for having a lesser daughter." The silence that follows feels weighted with 18 years of unspoken truth. Grandma Margaret sighs, the sound heavy with disappointment. "After all these years," she murmurs, "and you still can't face it." I look at my parents, really look at them. Dad rigid with anger, Mom crumbling under the weight of exposure, neither capable of the simple words that might begin to heal this breach. A strange calm settles over me as I stand, gathering my photos and bag. "I think we're done here," I say quietly. I walk away without looking back, the bell above the coffee shop door chiming a final note as I step into the crisp November air, breathing deeply for what feels like the first time in 18 years. A year later, my dorm room glows golden in the afternoon light. Unlike the stark white walls of my childhood bedroom, these walls tell stories, concert tickets from shows with friends who chose to be family, Polaroids of Sloane and me making ridiculous faces at the beach, and proudly centered above my desk, my Dean's List certificate in a simple black frame. "You managed to fit an entire life into 300 square feet, says Maya, my roommate, lounging across my bed with her sociology textbook. She points to the bulletin board where Grandma Margaret's latest letter sits prominently. "Your grandmother still writes actual letters. That's precious." I run my fingers over Grandma's familiar handwriting. She says email lacks soul. The truth is, simpler Margaret knows how much I treasure holding something she touched, a physical connection spanning the miles between us. 1 year. That's how long it's been since I walked away from that coffee shop table, since I stopped trying to extract water from the stone that is my parents' love. The calendar on my wall marks monthly sister weekends with little heart stickers. Purple circles indicate video calls with Grandma and Uncle Robert. What's missing speaks volumes: no photos of my parents anywhere in this carefully curated space. My phone buzzes with a text from Sloane. "Still on for Thanksgiving at my place?" Rob and Grams confirmed. bringing 2 pies and that green bean thing you pretend to hate but secretly love. I smile, typing back. Wouldn't miss it. Making mom's cranberry sauce recipe's one thing she got right. The irony isn't lost on me. The only maternal legacy I choose to carry forward is a recipe, not the emotional baggage I spent 18 years collecting. My therapist would call this progress. 3 sessions a month, courtesy of University Health Services, has taught me to recognize what's worth keeping and what needs releasing. On my desk sits my psychology journal, the one Professor Winters encouraged me to keep. Its pages chronicle the journey from confusion to clarity, from pain to purpose. Last week's entry marks a milestone. I helped another student, a freshman whose parents favor her twin brother, navigate the familiar territory of conditional love. Sometimes the family we're born into isn't the family that helps us grow, I told her, words that would have sounded like empty platitudes a year ago but now carry the weight of lived experience. Maya glances at the single holiday card pinned to the corner of my bulletin board, the obligatory correspondence from my parents, featuring a stock family photo from 3 years ago, before the truth exploded.